Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to your September horoscopes for your zodiac sign. Now, this is how you're going to read for your sign. You're going to read first for your rising sign. If you do not know your rising sign, you want to go on a free 99 website like AstroSeek or astro.com. You punch in your data, your date of birth, location, and time, and then you will see your rising sign, which is also the ascendant. Then you're going to read for your ascendant sign. This is how I do the monthly forecasts because this will give you a bigger picture of where the transits are going through your own personal houses. Now, as a disclaimer, like always, this is based on just your rising sign. There's other things to take into consideration, like if you have any natal placements in and around the degrees that I mention. Another thing to keep in mind is that not all transits will impact you because they just won't. Like, that's why you want to look at the degree of the transit and if you have any placements around that specific transit. Try not to get into this mindset of, is this good or bad? Because only you can perceive of something as good or bad. Something that might be a challenging aspect for me or its transit might actually be something that ends up being a blessing in disguise later on. So I try not to say what is good or bad. I'll say, this is an auspicious day to start something. This might bring blessings down the road. This is a challenging transit that you might need to lean into, or you might be triggered on this day. That's how I try to do the forecast so that you are prepared and you're not blindsided by certain things that might happen. You also have to take into consideration your profection year, so your time lord, different like midlife transits. You know, there's people going through their Saturn return right now, which is a different experience than if you weren't going through a Saturn return. Some people are going through their midlife transits. They're going through their simultaneous Pluto and Neptune square. So there's all these different layers to take into consideration when you listen to this. And like I said, collectively, 2025, we're all going through massive changes. We're all being asked to show up in different ways to really work through our own bullshit, to heal our trauma. And then individually, we can narrow that down to certain things that we are going to be focusing on in our own transits. So, if you want to learn more about your own specific natal chart, I am teaching Astrology 101. I opened up my star school that starts October 6th. It's a 12-week class. We meet for 2 hours every Monday between 12 and 2 p.m. And I'm going to teach you how to read your natal chart so that when you listen to the transits and you remember, oh, I have a 5-degree sun in Aries. So then next year, the Saturn and Neptune conjunction in Aries is going to impact me. Stuff like that. It's really important to understand your natal chart when you listen to these transits, because like I said, not all transits are going to impact you. And also not all transits impact people the same way. So that is one way you can go deeper with me. And I mean, obviously you're listening to this. So if you are a Patreon member, you're getting this at the top of the month. If you want to become a Patreon member so that you could receive this in the beginning of the month versus like when it's, we're already going into mid-month, then you can be in the North Node. I believe I call it the North Node tier. It's $10 a month. And you can also listen to the monthly forecast that I do with Stephanie Campos, which we go day by day, every single day of the month. In these monthly transits, I only really talk about the ones that would impact your rising sign, the most important ones. Obviously, the 2 lunations and any of your chart rulers, your planetary ruler changing signs or making significant aspects. If you want to come along with me every week in the forecast where I break it down day by day, that's free 99 on YouTube. But if you want to support my work, you can join the first tier of my Patreon, which you just pay $5. I think it's $5.55 a month to support my work. So that is how to engage with the content of the monthly forecasts. I obviously can't answer all of the questions you have if you are not a Patreon member. This is another benefit of being a member because if you're not a Patreon member and you're watching it in the general public, you're already catching this forecast in like mid-month when I've already, spent a lot of time putting this out for my Patreon members. So they get first priority. And then if you're watching just the clips of it, just know that I post the clips for marketing purposes, but there's a whole month of transits that give context to your experience. Because there were a couple of people that just watched the clips last month and they were like, yeah, but I'm a Libra rising and this Venus Cancer conjunction in my 10th house is not auspicious for me. I just got fired from my job. But if you had watched the full month forecast, I said that Venus and Jupiter, just because they're both benefics, doesn't mean that it's all going to be like rainbows and butterflies. So those are the disclaimers. Thank you so much for being here and thank you so much for supporting my work. Let's get to your sign. Hello, Leo risings. Welcome to your September forecast. Wow, you're the last sign I'm doing, so I'm a little delusional, but we made it. Thank goodness. So September is going to be action-packed. 5 planets change signs this month, including your chart ruler, which is the sun, and there are eclipses. So there's a lot of things going on. So let's just get into it, right? September 1st, Saturn will retrograde and re-enter Pisces, which is your 8th whole sign house. Now, how was Saturn and Neptune in your 9th house? What did you notice since May of this year? Now, Saturn is going back into your 8th house and it's going to be there for a little bit, at least for the rest of this year, finishing up its story. Now, the 8th house in astrology is how we receive money through support, through our marriage partners, our partnerships, and their shared resources. And if you are a coupled up Leo rising, something about your partner's income would have maybe changed as Saturn was going retrograde. Since Saturn rules your 7th house of Aquarius and also Capricorn, your 6th house of your work. Did you have an income stream that changed or the ways in which you receive money changed over the course of the last couple of months? So Saturn is here asking you to lock in, asking you to create a plan, asking you to get serious, disciplined, because Saturn always brings a serious tone to every house that it goes in. Saturn wants three things from you. It wants a plan, it wants discipline, and it wants structure. Not all the fun things for a fire rising sign. On September 2nd, Mercury will go into your 2nd house of Virgo. So again, finances are going to be at the top of every Leo rising's mind, very similar to the Aquarius risings because of the nature of the eclipses happening in your financial houses. So Mercury going here will have you thinking about your financial flow, if you are well-resourced, if you have enough finances. Again, Saturn going into your 8th is going to ask you to make a plan, to be more structured. I know these are all the things that I absolutely hate about capitalism. So I'm saying this being like, woof. Mercury has its exaltation and domicile in Virgo. So whatever plans you do put in place will be supported by that exalted Mercury. On September 6th, Uranus will station retrograde in Gemini in your 11th house. Now, the 11th house is supportive to you. It's in a 60-degree angle. And the 11th house is about our groups, our friendships, community. This could also describe the kind of followers who we have if you have a social media presence, and also our long-term desires. So having Uranus here, after Uranus was in your 10th house since 2018, Uranus was trying to shake up your career, your public persona. And now Uranus being in your 11th house, maybe you've decided to um, like offer your services, offer your art or whatever it is that you're into to a bigger community, like a bigger group of people. Maybe you've decided that the friends you've been hanging out with are lame and you want to find more like revolutionary type people, like more Uranian people. I would say Uranus is that planet that is unexpected, unpredictable. It is a planet about disruption. So you can have like these experiences over the next couple of years. Uranus's transit is like 7 to 8 years of just being in and out of social groups, um, and also attracting people who are just like different kinds of thinkers. You might be interested in going to protests and meeting friends that way, meeting your community that way. On September 7th, there is a total lunar eclipse at 2:08 p.m. Eastern Time at 15 degrees of Pisces. And so this is happening in your 8th house. So again, there's a full moon, something is ending, something is coming to fruition with your finances, okay? So don't panic. This is what I told Aquarius risings. The best way to get through this time is to examine your poverty consciousness, your financial trauma, and how it's tied to your sense of worth. This is very spiritual because these houses are, they don't witness the first house. So the second is obviously not in an angle to the first, and the 8th house is in an inconjunct. It is one of the dark houses. So this is really about understanding money. Like, what is money for? How are you tying your sense of worth and productivity to the money that you make? And understanding this art, this very delicate balance of reciprocity. I posted this video on, I think, the new moon in Virgo. I did a little slideshow. It was a brilliant video about how debt is vibration, since the 8th house is about debt and loans too. So a lot of Leo risings might be clearing debt. Now, I say that with the caveat because the North Node has this increasing factor. So some of you might be accruing more debt than you can clear away. But with Saturn here, it's like, let's get serious about it. But anyway, this video, this man was channeling this message about debt as vibration. And a lot of people get stuck in the loop of debt because it is it's a energy of contraction. It's really heavy. And so many people relate their sense of worth, and there's so much shame on debt. And his prediction was that the more we do spiritual work, the more we feel worthy, the more we start to transmute this dense energy, the more of us are going to realize that the debt doesn't actually define who we are, but it's just this outdated system, right? I mean, the United States is like trillions of dollars in debt. Do they really have the capacity or the right to tell us that we have debt? I don't think so. Also, the United States uses our tax dollars to genocide innocent people. So I don't think they have the right to tell us anything of a moral capacity. Anyway, I digress. So having the eclipses here is going to be triggering. I'm not going to lie, but it's ultimately going to ask you to look into these topics of like finances, reciprocity. Are you giving too much? Should you also be asking your community for help? Now, I like this full moon or this eclipse, because the ruler of this moon is Jupiter in Cancer, which is in your 12th house. So there is some expansion going on in your 12th house of the unknown, unseen. This is where we deal with our fears. This is where we deal with our self-sabotaging thoughts and behaviors. And Jupiter here coming in this house is kind of like expanding your awareness of these ideas. And the moon and Jupiter have mutual reception, which means that the ruler of the moon is Jupiter and the ruler of Jupiter is the moon. So they're supportive. It's a north node eclipse. So again, this is something that is trying to be made manifest in this physical reality. So for a lot of Leo risings, I would definitely do some healing work around financial trauma and ask yourself like, why are if finances are a struggle for you, then all of these topics would be obviously relevant to you. There might be some Leo risings that obviously don't have any financial issues. And so this could just be a time where maybe you're going through a breakup, or if you are married and you're going through a divorce, and this is the time when during these eclipses you're splitting up your finances, as Saturn is also the ruler of your seventh house. On September 13th, Mercury in Virgo will conjunct the sun in Virgo at 20 degrees. This is a cazimi. This is really lovely. The Mercury is exalted in Virgo and in its domicile. And whenever a planet goes through the sun, this is called a cazimi. It has its roots in Arabic, meaning in the heart of. So Mercury is being blessed. This is a great day to for contracts, if you're looking to do contracts. This is a great day to also like clear up your finances, like make an Excel spreadsheet and see all the things that you spend your money on, your savings and all the stuff. Getting really organized is a very Virgo keyword. And I'm telling you, like, these things are not sexy whatsoever. These things that I'm saying is stuff that I don't even like to do. But again, Saturn in Pisces in your eighth house is asking you to be really fucking for real. And it's like a sobering reality of your current situation and getting yourself organized and structured. So September 18th, Mercury will ingress into Libra, which is your third house. And I really like this because Mercury also rules your 11th house of groups and community. So this day, you might just be speaking out for justice. You might be more vocal on social media, or if you're a writer on your Substack, or a blog, if people still blog, I don't know. But this is a day to get your thoughts and your ideas out there, to speak, right? And to start communicating in ways that feel aligned to you. Now, all the cadent houses, the third, sixth, ninth, and 12th, are houses about proximity and knowledge. So the third house, being the closest to the first, it's a sextile, is the house that this is knowledge that we know, like deeply know, and we're familiar with, and the people in our neighborhoods, people in our lives that we are close to. So our siblings are here, our neighbors, our cousins. So you just might also feel like connecting with them, doing some community organizing together, since you also had Mars here, which is like a very active planet. And yeah, on September 19th, Venus will ingress into Virgo. So Venus will go into the second house. Now, this is a time to really interrogate your sense of self-worth and self-value, since Venus is about your value. It's also about your bonds. And Venus also rules your 10th house of career as well, and your third house. So thinking about the ways in which maybe you've been overgiving, as a result of some feelings of insecurity or a lack of self-confidence. And this is going to really help you too in your finances, because when you realize that you're worthy of something and that you have a special set of skill sets that nobody else has, this is when you root down into who you're really meant to become. Now, Venus is in its fall in the sign of Virgo. So when Venus is in a more mercurial sign, this is about like thinking, this is about making connections, this is about yeah, you could be more judgmental or anxious, but I would use this energy to clear out any feelings you have of unworthiness or insecurity, since Venus is also co-present with the South Node, which is about releasing and purging. And we'll talk more about that at the solar eclipse, which I guess we'll just talk about now because that's the next transit. On September 21st, there's a partial solar eclipse at 3:54 p.m. Eastern Time at 29 degrees of Virgo. So this is a South Node eclipse, which is releasing, purging, cleansing away. And it's a new moon, it's a solar eclipse, but there is some ending that's being called here, right? So some Leo risings, I have to say, you might lose a stream of income. You might lose a way that you've made money, maybe. So some of you might get laid off, and I'm just saying this so you prepare yourself. But something is changing in the ways that you make and receive money. What's challenging about this is that this solar eclipse is opposite Saturn in Pisces, and Saturn rules your seventh house of one-on-one partnerships, contracts, and open enemies, and the sixth house of your work environment. So that's why I say that for some Leo risings, you might be laid off, or I don't know, a sabotage from an enemy at work. But a Saturnian figure is like stopping you. It's like, no. An elder figure, a boss, a manager, again, like a Saturnian type of person is you're confronting them. You're being confronted by them. And again, if you surrender to what's being released in your life, as indicated by the North Node in Pisces, if you surrender and you have faith in something bigger, that you're being protected by something, that every no from the universe is either this is not right for you or it's just not the right timing yet, then you will get through this. I promise you. On September 22nd, Mars will ingress into Scorpio, and this is your fourth house of home, family, ancestors, parents. So for any Leo risings, this might be a challenging transit just because it will square you and it will square your partner and oppose your 10th house of career. So this might just mean that you might be at odds with obligations and responsibilities at home. Now, be careful because Mars has this energy of biting. I'm just thinking about like mites or termites or like infestations in the home. And it's a water sign. So some Leo risings might be having just home issues. But it could also just mean not literally, but you're just having difficulties balancing home life, your personal responsibilities, and your career. Like the responsibilities that you have at home are just needing attention because, I mean, most people I know, I would say, I don't want to gender this, but I would say if you're a woman with the Leo rising, most women carry on the burden of caretaking as well. Like most women I know who also work full time also take care of their children. So this might be that situation where you're asking your partner to take on more responsibility to help you so that you can grow your business or pay attention to your career matters. And the responsibilities are needing to be split in half. But as Mars is going through your fourth house, your partner is not sharing their end of the responsibilities. And so this is the tension between the first, fourth, seventh, and 10th, the angular houses. But if that's not it, then Mars in its domicile in Scorpio, you might be just more like determined to make it work with your family. This might be maybe that you decide to change things up at home because Mars is the planet of action. It's very determined and focused when it's in its own sign. So Mars just being here might mean that you're thinking about renovating it, or you're just like more focused in this area of your life. On the same day, the sun will ingress into the sign of Libra, and this is the fall equinox. So the house topics go from the second house to the third house and fourth house. This is the bottom of your chart, which is more about your private life. So the third house, again, is the house of communication. This is the house of what you know personally, your own knowledge, and also the people in your life. So this is your chart ruler, the sun. So when your chart ruler goes from the second, it's focused on your finances and making money and making sure you have enough money for the long term. And then it goes to your third, which is, okay, now it's the time to speak up. Now is the time to build relationships and coalition building with people, possibly. You might be visiting your family members, like your siblings or cousins, and just making more connections online. So the middle of September is really sweet. I would say like September 13th. I would say even September 12th through the 15th. These are really sweet aspects in the sky to take advantage of. It gives us a little break and a reprieve from the eclipses. This is like between the eclipses. And then there's a grand air trine happening when Mercury goes into Libra, and then when the sun goes into Libra, there will be a grand air trine between your social houses, between the 3rd, 11th, and 7th. So this is a great month, like I said, to meet people, to organize with people, to share ideas with people, to build bonds with people, and be very active in this time and learning even. However, there is one aspect that I wanted to make you aware of, which is on September 24th, Mars and Scorpio will square Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So this is between the 4th and 7th houses. This is a transit that I would be careful of, again, because this is a conflict aspect between you and your partner, or you and an open enemy, or you and an ally, and the 4th house. So I would just be careful on this day. I would try to use this energy to the best of my ability to, like, if you do get triggered, like an old wounding or an old trauma might be coming up, I would be very gentle with myself, and I would just ask myself, like, what is this trying to show me? I would try my best not to get into a fight, but if a fight does occur, um, I would just really take it easy and give yourself grace. And it's not an easy transit, but I wanted to make you aware of that, because this is a very tense month. There's eclipses, a lot of signs are changing, and tensions are high, and people are going through it right now. Like, people are starting to crash out. So that is your September. I hope you are safe and you have a good one. I will see you in October.